Okay, what you saying, people, and welcome back to another weekly Forex analysis. Now, before we get into this, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also leave a like. That is all appreciated. And if you haven't already, make sure you follow me on my Telegram channel. I'll leave a link to that in the description. So I'll be posting a lot of different trading setups throughout the week, and you don't be missing out on that. But like I said, we've got another weekly Forex analysis. So let me stop talking and let's get into it. Up first, we've got Euro USD. Okay, so for Euro USD on the daily chart, you can see we had a push to the upside this week. We actually had a breakout of this level that we were looking at as resistance for us. As you can see, previous support broke below, so we're expecting that as a resistance. Potentially get moved to the downside where we can target levels like so, previous resistance in the market, now acting as support. But as you can see, we've actually had a break above that level. With the Friday's close candle, as you can see with this bullish candle here, and on the weekly there you can see two consecutive bullish candles closing back above our support level. So that could mean that we could potentially see USD continue to rise. We did have a trend line going through the market like so, as you can see on the daily chart, multiple tests of this trend line keeping us in a downtrend, and we had a little bit of confluence around there with the trend line and this the resistance. So potentially we could have saw a fall in Euro USD from that area. But as you can see with this candle just breaking through, as long as it's not a false breakout, potentially could be seeing Euro USD rise further. And we do have levels on the daily chart up here. As you can see, previous resistance of all these wicks, and we've got a test there, and the test there we had to move to the downside. So we're back in that ranging pattern that we had previously. So potentially could be seeing price resume to go and test that resistance. Obviously for entries, you could be looking for lower time frames as price as those pullbacks, and trade it to the level up here. And of course, if you get there, if we get some nice bearish price action, could be looking to go short from that resistance there again, because we are expecting some correction there from a higher time frame point of view. As you can see from the weekly, really big push to the upside on the weekly there, and you do expect a little bit bigger retrace than that to happen in the weekly time frame, and even the monthly there, big push to the upside. You do expect to see some level of correction there in the market, but then again we could keep pushing on and create those higher highs. In that case, we won't be looking to short and just expect price to push on. But for now on the daily chart, you can see we are closing above that level, so then that level's going to act as support. So potentially could be looking for buys if we continue off that level. But if price was to have a false breakout and close back below, then that level is going to turn back to resistance, and again we can look to short Euro USD. But for now, we're probably back in that ranging pattern, so it's not really clear as to the direction for Euro USD until we see a proper breakout out of those levels. Next, we're going to take a look at USD JPY. Okay, so for USD JPY on the daily chart here, you can see we actually had a breakout out of our daily trend line that we've been looking at with price lately. As you can see, multiple tests of this trend line. If I zoom in, you can see it starts here, initial test there of the trend line, then we had a couple there, multiple there, and multiple there. And you can see that this week we've actually had a breakout of this trend line, and it looks like we're coming back to retest that same trend line. And again, as you can see, previously acting as resistance for us, now that trend line is going to act as support. Potentially could be seeing USD JPY continue to rise, of course, unless we don't break back inside of the trend line and this becomes a false breakout. We do have this upper trend line that we're looking at for USD JPY, on the daily chart. As you can see, initially a test there, second test there, and a third test there. So you could possibly see USD JPY continue to rise and go and test that same trend line, or go and test our 200 moving average just above it. So if we do resume off the trend line and continue the upwards momentum, we could be seeing a move to go and test the trend line or the 200 moving average. Obviously, if we do break back in, we could be seeing another move back to the downside as price gives us a false breakout, and potentially see price continue in that downwards trend, where we could see a move to go and test the daily support area we have in the market down here. As you can see, support. So a strong support area we could possibly see a move to, but of course we need to see price break back in, because that same trend line is going to act as support, and we could easily see price resume off that and continue to the upside. So it all depends how we see price react with that trend line early next week. If you see price continue bearish, breaking back below that trend line, creating lower lows, could be looking for the pullbacks, expecting a possible trade to go and reach the daily support area down here. But if we do resume off it, could be looking for some longs and targeting the trend line up there. Now let's take a look at USD CAD. Okay, so for USD CAD on the daily chart, you can see we had a push to downside this week. We broke through the support level that we were looking at in the market. As you can see, previous resistance, 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 resistance again. So we're expecting this level to act as support and potentially give us a move to the upside, continuing this bullish counter trend movement that we're having right now. But as you can see, ultimately we just fell right through it. We did get a bit of a bullish engulfing candle there at that level, but ultimately price just went straight through the level and gave us a nice bearish momentum. So probably expecting that to continue for recent price action there in the daily chart, and possibly go and test the lows of the trend down here. And again, we could be looking at some longs when we go and test the same area if we do get some nice bullish price action. But ultimately, if you stay bearish and you stay having that strong bearish momentum, we could possibly see price go and break through that level and go and create some lower lows, continuing this downtrend that we have in the market. And you can see where we had it from on the weekly chart. I was talking about this area in the market here. As you can see, we had the gap in the market there, we have the support there, a couple of dojis. It is a significant area of the weekly chart, and I was saying if price was to go and break this area, we can see USD CAD continue a lot higher, but ultimately you can see we did not break it. We got rejected from it, and previous support turned into resistance, and we had a push to the downside from that area. So it does, from a weekly point of view, look like we'll come back to test the lows where we had support. So again, we could expect that to act as support as long as we get some nice bullish price action. But ultimately, from a daily point of view, it looks like we're heading back down to contest that area. So again, you can be looking for the pullbacks as price makes those lower lows, and then possibly look for some longs if you do get some nice price action at this level in the market down there. Next, we're going to move on to Euro GBP. Okay, so for Euro GBP on the daily chart here, you can see that this week not too much has happened. A lot of bull candles and bear candles all bunched up, effectively just ranging, moving sideways. We do have this support level here which price is focusing at. As you can see, previous resistance, now turned support, and price is holding at that level. And of course we do have the resistance above it giving us that sideways movement. So if you see price break out of here, either to the upside or to the downside, we get a bit more clarity in the direction of Euro GBP. And if we see a break to the downside, breaking that support, we could potentially see a longer move to go and test this area in the market here. As you can see, previous support, and as well got the 200 moving average on the daily chart coming to play at this level. So we could be seeing price getting attracted down there. But if price does break above our resistance, could be seeing price go and target the highs previously made by this pair. As you can see, push downside from there, from that area in the market. Could be seeing price break above that resistance, use that support, and you can look to go long and capitalize on the move to the upside. Likewise, you can capitalize on price retesting this support if we do break through it and continue to the downside down there. So that's what we're looking for Euro GBP next week. But as you can see now, no real clarity in terms of the direction, just moving sideways. So waiting for price to give us a breakout to either side to show us which way price is going to go. And again, we can look for longs if you see a break of resistance, and look for shorts if you see a break of the support. Okay, so up next we've got AUD USD. Okay, so for AUD USD on the daily chart, you can see we had a push to the upside this week, breaking through our resistance. You can see previous support and resistance for us. So we're expecting to see a move to the downside from this area and possibly go and create some lower lows, or at least go and test the low down here. However, you can see we have reversed from that initial push and we've gone on to break that same resistance. So as long as we don't get Monday's candle closing back below, giving us a false breakout, we assume this to be a proper breakout and possibly see price continuing to the upside. But we do have to be aware we do have a trend line in the market not too far away. As you can see, previous test there, another test there, a couple tests there, and another test there. So this trend line will act as resistance. So we could be seeing some bearish price action come back into the market when price hits the trend line, and could be looking for some shorts, anticipating another move to the downside. But again, you have to be wary of that support. If you do see price go and break it, then again, we can expect a longer move for AUD/USD. But again, if you do stay above it, it's going to act as support, so be wary of that. But obviously, price break that trend line, and stay above that support, we could probably wait for some pullbacks and probably anticipate price heading to the upside, going to test the highs up there, or going to test the highs all the way made up there. But currently AUD USD on the daily chart is looking bullish and probably could be expecting that to continue higher. So again, you can be looking for those pullbacks on the low time frames, anticipating price to go higher. Up next, we've got NZD CAD. Okay, so for NZD CAD on the daily chart, you can see we do have an uptrending market there overall, as you can see with this trend line that I'm drawing in now. Last week I was talking about we could possibly get another push to the downside to go and test this trend line. We were here in the market over here. As you can see, previous resistance there, now acting as resistance there again for us. So I was saying we could possibly get a move to the downside to go and test the trend line again, and as you can see, that's exactly what happened. So again, we had a big engulfing candle from testing that trend line, so potentially could be seeing another move back to the upside to go and test that same resistance again. As you can see, push to the downside, push back up, push to the downside. We could be seeing another push. Of course, we do have this upwards trend, but we are failing to make those high highs ultimately. As you can see with this trend line here, there's our high, there's our lower high. So potentially could be seeing another test of that trend line, create another lower high, or go and have another test of that resistance there. So we could possibly see another push to the upside for NZD CAD next week. And again, for entries, could be looking at the lower time frames, like the hourly or the 4H, looking for those pullbacks as price continues to rise and go and test the levels up here. However, if you do see price reverse and go and break this trend line, we could possibly be seeing a further move to the downside as long as we get those retests to get that confirmation that we are moving to the downside, and possibly go and test the 200 moving average there. And of course, if you go and break it, could be testing levels just below it. But as of yet, still expecting price to push to the upside. We're still holding that trend line and could be seeing another move to the upside to go and test the resistance or the trend line up there. Now let's take a look at GBP NZD. Okay, so for GBP NZD on the daily chart, you can see recently we had another push to the upside from a support area in the market. As you can see, previous support for us here, nice push to the upside, retesting that same area again, another push to the upside. However, not as strong as the previous push that we had here. You can see we've slowly been creeping up the past few days. We do have some resistance in the market around here that price has found. As you can see, a wick to the upside got rejected, pushed to the downside, and now we're back at that same area. We do have another wick just above it, so that price was trying to break through it, but ultimately by the end of that day we failed and closed below that area. So it does look like that resistance is holding, and ultimately if you don't see price break above it, we would potentially be seeing another move back to the downside for GBP NZD. As you can see, if I zoom out onto the daily time frame, we're recently having a downtrend in the market, push the upside right back down. So potentially could be looking at another lower high in the market. There's our previous high, another lower high, could be looking at another lower high. Of course, if we do break past that resistance will act as support. Could be seeing another move to the upside to go and test that 200 moving average we got on the daily chart there. Or possibly if you get a longer move to go and test the highs that we've got all the way up there. But our 200 moving average would definitely be our initial target. But of course, you've got to break for that resistance. But as of yet, you can see some bearish price action is creeping in on the daily chart there. With that bearish candle coming from that resistance, with that little bit of indecision candle just before it. So again, if you do see a push to the downside for GBP NZD, breaking through this trend line here, we've got going through the market, as you can see, keeping us in that uptrend. So if you do see a break of that trend line, could be looking for price to give us those pullbacks, and we could be trading a move to the downside for GBP NZD, and ultimately trading to hit the lows all the way down here. But on the opposite side, if you do see a break of the support of the resistance, if you do see a break of the resistance, that would then act as support and could be taking some retest and aiming for that 200 minute average up there on the daily chart. Up next, we've got CAD JPY. Okay, so for CAD JPY on the daily chart, you can see we had this push to the upside this week, initially moving sideways quite a lot, but then gradually gained that bullish momentum, and now we'll break into the upside. So we could be seeing price maintain that bullishness next week and go to test previous resistance for us here, resistance for us there, and could be seeing resistance for us there if we do get there next week. So that's where we could be targeting price to head to if we remain in that bullish momentum. And then of course could be looking for some shorts if you get some nice bearish price action at that level, anticipate another move to the downside. And again, you can see on the weekly chart why we had that push to the upside. Strong area in the market here, support for us there, resistance for us there, now acting as support for us there again. So we're having that nice push to the upside. But if we do look at it from a weekly point of view, we are actually ranging. As you can see, we have our resistance up there and our support down there, push to the upside, back down, back up, back down. So we're having another push to the upside, giving us that range pattern, and we could be seeing another move to go and test that resistance again. So from a weekly point of view, it's looking good for CAD JPY to continue on rising, possibly go and test that resistance, and then again possibly could be looking for some shorts if you do get some nice price action when we do get to that resistance. So if we do break out that resistance, we could be seeing a longer move to the upside, or break out the support, a longer move to the downside. But for now, from a weekly point of view, we are stuck between those two levels. So again, could be looking for some pullbacks in the market at some key levels, like so. You can see resistance for us there, support, support. So we could be looking for a retest of this area and looking to go long for CAD JPY and gain a nice move to the upside, and then target the resistance up there. Now let's see what's happening with GBP USD. Okay, so for GBP USD on the daily chart, you can see we do have an uptrend in the market. As you can see, initial test there, second test there, and a third test there of the market. And from then we've been pushing to the upside. We were looking at this trend line last week. As you can see, previous resistance. We did see price break out. Then we're saying if we can get a retest of this trend line, potentially see price continue to the upside. And as you can see there, we had a retest there, and since then, price has been continuing that upwards direction. So again, we'll probably be expecting this to continue to the upside. We did just break through some horizontal resistance. As you can see, resistance there again. So if you do sustain outside of this resistance, that's going to act as support and could possibly see price retest it, give us some nice long entries there, and look to carry on GBPUSD to the upside. However, if you do see Monday's candle close back below that resistance, and then we could possibly see a false breakout happening and price continue to the downside and perhaps go and test that trend line there. So we'll be looking at this level next week to see how price reacts with that. If price remains bullish and keeps on going higher, we just look for pullbacks later on. But if price was to pull back into this area to act as support, could be looking at some long trades for GBPUSD and carry on that to the upside. And last, we've got GBP CAD. Okay, so with GBP CAD on the daily chart, you can see that not too much has happened this week. You can see we still have the levels in the market like so. There's our support and there's our resistance in the market that's keeping the market moving sideways. As you can see, a lot of bear candles and bull candles all bundled up. Effectively, we're moving sideways, and of course we do have the 200 average moving through the chart as well. So we need to see price break out of these levels to give us a bit more clear direction in the market. If we break up to the downside and break through that support level, we can be targeting the lower level down here on the daily time frame. As you can see, support, support, support. So you can see a nice move to the downside, and again you can wait for the retest of the level, or just wait for the pullbacks on the low time frames and make your way to test the level down here. And then if we do break above our resistance on the 200 average, this will now come support for us, and we could be targeting resistance up there or resistance up there, move to the upside. So we just need to be seeing a breakout of our resistance or our support, because effectively we're just moving sideways between these two levels for GBP CAD. We do have a little bit of a trend line going through the market on the daily time frame. If I draw it like that, you can see initially a test there, another test there, another test there, another test there, acting as a resistance as well for us around there. So in fact, we need to break through the trend line and the resistance, and then we can get above it and then start look for longs, and again target the areas like so. But if we do hold and this resistance does come into play, we can break through the support, and then again looking for those shorts to go and target this area down there. So we'll just be looking to see how price reacts with the support level and the resistance level, and then we can be looking for shorts or longs respectively, to which level we break out with. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the video. So I hope you all enjoyed that, and if you did, make sure you subscribe to the channel and also leave a like on the video. That's all appreciated. If you have any questions, or if you agree or disagree with me, just drop it down in the comments and I'll make sure I get back to you. But till the next one, I will see you later.